Hello everyone, welcome to my review of Season 2, Episode 7 of Supergirl, titled The Darkest Place. Before I go any further, I just want to say that there will be spoilers in this review. There is a lot happening in this episode. It seems like every character in the show had their own type of plotline going on. First, I want to start with what is going on with Jimmy Olsen and Winn. As we remember from the last episode, Jimmy Olsen is now the vigilante, the Guardian. And since he is going around doing all of these vigilante-type activities, there is a lot of question going on about, is it right? Should he be doing these types of things? What is the reaction from people? Kara has an interesting reaction. She's kind of skeptical of the vigilante and why he's hiding his identity, which is kind of interesting considering she has to hide her own identity as well. But now there is a new vigilante who showed up, and he is a lot more darker and a lot more serious than Jimmy Olsen. He is actually killing all of the people he is going after. More importantly, the Guardian is being framed for all these murders, so Jimmy Olsen and Winn have to kind of clear the Guardian's name. But the most interesting part of this little plot line is kind of a little throwaway line that I'm not sure if everyone caught it, but I know as a DC Comics fan, I definitely caught it when Kara so swiftly mentioned a vigilante that her cousin worked with who dealt with gadgets and had a lot of demons. And that was probably another small hint at Batman existing in the Supergirl world. We got a mention of Gotham back in, I believe, the first episode, and now we're getting a kind of a mention of the Batman, so who knows where that could lead later on. I know I am just having this hopeful optimism that one day we will actually get Batman proper on the small screen. There was also another kind of side plot line, this one involving J'onn J'onzz, who after receiving the blood transfusion from Megan Moores, who we know is a white Martian, he is beginning to have some side effects because of that. He's beginning to see these types of visions, he's getting shaky hands, he is kind of losing his mind a little bit. And in this episode, the big reveal is that Megan Moores is in fact a white Martian, but she is a benevolent white Martian. She is not one of those genocidal ones that tormented J'onn J'onzz's people. And they have this really large kind of huge throwdown fight, which was very cool to see these two Martians in their Martian form have this big fight. And you really see the size difference between the green Martians and the white Martians. So you get this sense of how the white Martians could possibly subjugate the green Martians back on Mars. It was a very interesting emotional scenario for J'onn J'onzz because he thought that he found another green Martian and now it's someone who is part of the race that exterminated his race. That is a very interesting conflict of emotions. And as a result of this conflict, we get to see Megan Moores locked up at the DEO. For however long, we're not quite sure, but I'm assuming we're going to see her pretty soon down the line. But the main plot of this episode revolved around Mon-El being captured by Cadmus at the end of the last episode, and Supergirl going to rescue him without telling anyone for some reason. And what we found out during this episode is that Cadmus has created a cyborg Superman, but in the body of Hank Henshaw. I think we are led to believe that it is the real Hank Henshaw being turned into some type of cyborg, which is kind of an interesting thing. It's also weird that we're calling him Cyborg Superman, but he's really Cyborg Hank Henshaw, but with Superman's abilities. What we got to see in that plotline is that Mon-El and Supergirl are very susceptible to vulnerable situations, which I thought was very interesting because she's known as the Girl of Steel. He also has great abilities, but them being captured led to them being very vulnerable, very susceptible to torture and kind of experimentation, things of that nature. As we saw in this episode, Cadmus now has Supergirl's blood, so who knows what they're going to do with that. I thought this episode was very serious in that respect. we never really saw Supergirl in really this great peril without really overcoming it in the end, which I thought was very interesting. What we did get to see, though, was we got to see Jeremiah Danvers, who is Alex's father. It's kind of nice that they are following up on the whole Jeremiah Danvers disappearance and still being alive plotline that they introduced last season. Hopefully we will get to see him again later on. I'm a little confused why he just didn't leave with them. It's not as if he had to hold guys off so that they could escape or create another type of diversion, but who knows if that was the case. The Alex plotline once again veered into her more personal life, specifically with dealing with the aftermath of her coming out as a gay woman and her confronting Maggie Sawyer about her feelings. And in this episode, she kind of does that once again, kind of, I think, more so to clear the air about what their relationship is now. And we saw at the end of this episode, probably there's going to be more romance within their relationship later on, possibly. But now she has to deal with the fact that she knows her father is definitely alive and that he is with Cadmus, and now she's probably going to be hell-bent as ever to try to find him. The one kind of negative aspect I have with the show is perhaps a little nitpicky, or perhaps not really a negative to most people who are watching, but I thought the very end of the episode, the tone of it shifted, and I really felt that dictated a more somber, more serious ending than I think we got. The end of the episode involves Kara and all her friends getting together, kind of relaxing, I guess, de-stressing from the stressful situation that they dealt with in the episode, but I kind of wish that they had a more serious approach to what was happening, because in this episode, Kara and Mon-El really didn't overcome their conflict. The only way they escaped was through Jeremiah, so they really didn't have cause to be celebrating too much. So I thought it was very odd tonally at the end. But other than that, I very much enjoyed the episode. I can't wait until next week when we start the big mega crossover between all four of the major comic book television series: Supergirl, The Flash, Arrow, and Legends of Tomorrow. But with all that being said, this has been my review of Season 2, Episode 7 of Supergirl, titled The Darkest Place. If you like this video, please check out my other episode reviews for the other comic book related television series.